Sometimes time gets away from us. There's a script. Sometimes this script just floats in front of you like one of those great electromagnetic screens that Tom Cruise used in The Minority Report. But time keeps on dripping, dripping, dripping into the future. Down the hourglass, that slim curved woman of time. And you've got the scripts in front of you. You can push your hand through them. You can see the words and the graphics. But something tells you that these screens are not for you. You think they are for you. Of course, they are your screens. But these screens were never screened. See, you were in the crib where you plopped out your mom's uterus through the canal into the arms of a nurse. And the scripts were right there. Right? Enfolding you like a diorama. Now, of course, at that time, they weren't so transparent, or what's the word? Translucent. Translucent. At the time, you were just a baby, and then you were an infant, and then you were an adolescent and a teenager, and then you just became an adult. And as you get older and older, you got two choices. One is a choice that you make unconsciously, or one is a choice that you make consciously. So the first choice, the unconscious choice, is that you put your hand up against the screen and it's a tablet, like a stone, the Ten Commandments, Mount Sinai, Moses, the edicts of God. And the diorama is really just a stone cage, a stone tomb, really. And it's very mobile. It goes everywhere that you go. You can see through it, but it's stone. What's up with that? What's up with that? The second choice, the conscious choice, is just to see through the screens and have them dissolve. And so that you're not walking in a stone tomb, that you are unconsciously erecting moment to moment to moment with your narrative realism, your narrative literalism. Very few people choose the second course of action, and many have no idea that there is a choice. So what you have is effectively those bumper carts. People walking around in their transparent stone tombs, bumping into one another. They're all 6 feet apart, so you can't quite feel each other. The screens are 3 feet in front of you, 3 feet to the side of you, 3 feet around you, so you can actually see them. But when you bump up against another stone tomb of tablets that are instructing the passenger how to do everything in the passenger's life without any spontaneity, just a script, the abutted stone tombs keep the passengers, you, and sometimes me, 6 feet apart, always. So the electromagnetic torus, called the heart, can't quite touch yours. means the screen, the stone tomb, gets even more solid, even more constricted, even more a straight jacket. Now, this is the funny part. On my good days, I'm cruising about. Cruising, and I'm cruising, and I'm not in the stone tomb, you know? I see the scripts for what they are. A code that's meant to navigate my mind for me. So I'm not in the captain's seat. No, I'm not. I'm not in the captain's seat this time around. Maybe next life I'll be in the captain's seat. And that's why it's literally like these bumper carts all the time, where you can just see autonomous marbles spinning and rolling about, bumping into one another, just forever. Do you know what it's like to be in that mayhem? Do you know what it's like to be a dragonfly? You know about the dragonfly? The dragonfly wings? Do you know how a dragonfly is born? You guessed it. The screens from inside the rolling stone orb tomb become the wings of the dragonfly. Now, how do you become a dragonfly when you are just entombed? Because the scripts are so solid, and they are your driving instructions through life. How do you grab those screens? And you know, there's 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's a 12-winged dragonfly. You've got to get your hand and sweep across it like this. Collect those diaphanous screens, plug them in your back like they're wings. Because they will be. If you figure it out. If you can make the conscious decision that you've not been able to make since you were born. Because since that time, since your emergence into this fallen world that is so serenely sublime, you've been reading the scripts. You didn't know it at the time. Obviously, when you were born, you didn't know that you were entombed. If rock is all you know, then water is all a fish knows. Except when you pull a fish out of it, the fish jumps out, or the lake dries up. Then the fish gets the taste of another world. That's painful for that fish. Same with you. You want to be a dragonfly. You want to have your 12 wings. You're going to have to leave the stone tomb behind. You're going to have to somehow get those screens like Tom Cruise gets those screens. But he just goes back and forth like a windshield wiper. Back and forth, back and forth. He's got his nice little gloves on. And he's Tom. He never swipes the images off the screen completely. He never takes that screen and tucks it in his back like an arrow in his quiver. And then the 12 wings emerge. It's nothing like that. No, what happens with him is he basically gets framed, and he learns that looking at the screens. And the movie unfolds. But you and I, we want a different movie, don't we? We don't want to be framed for a crime we didn't commit. We want to break out of the stone tomb. Because the stone tomb is like being framed for a crime we didn't commit, because it's not our script. Those 12, Screens are not our 12 scripts, so where'd they come from? As I like to say, animals in metal cages, humans in mental cages. And just as you gotta outwit that animal so that it will be in your metal cage to do what you need to do, for it to do what you want it to do, it's the same with us as humans. Born in the mental cages, born with the scripts. So, in order for you to be a dragonfly, you kind of gotta know that you got that choice. You kind of gotta feel the pain of only being able to read off these 12 cue cards your whole life. But how do you feel that pain? How do you know that this is an ache that's got to go? How do you know? And this is the thing. Those 12 scripts, those 12 screens, the whole holographic complex of the stone tomb are kept together, kept in action by something very simple. Something very simple. Drugs. Not just the hard drugs like meth or coke, crack. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about everything and anything that you do to placate the inside you. The ache inside you. That feeling inside you that something is wrong. That sensitivity that gnaws at you all the time. So there's got to be something that takes you out of that feeling. It's your drug. You're addicted to it. Might be multiple addictions. But unless you get in touch with that addiction, with that drug, you're not going to have your 12 dragonfly wings. Because to become that dragonfly, you've got to feel the pain of not being a dragonfly. You got to feel the pain. That pain is your best friend, but the narcotics take you out of the pain, and the narcotics take you out of the dragonfly altogether. The narcotics keep you a bumper car. The narcotics keep you in the stone tomb. You don't understand. You don't get it. The narcotics keep you transfixed on the 12 screens everywhere you look. Because if you don't narcoticize, you start to feel the pain. You're like, these scripts suck. I kind of feel like I've been here a million billion times. And of course I have, because I was born in this stone tomb. I came out of the uterus in the stone tomb. The 12 screens have been around me my whole life. Now the content shifts from day to day, second to second. But the fact that there's always 12 screens no matter where I go, and of course they span the entire height, width of the stone tomb. Right? And you put your hands, and it seems like, oh, I can put my hands through them. But you can't go any further out. It's just as far as you can stick your hand. You never notice that? You can't go farther out than where you stick your hand. You can walk forward, but you can never go farther than your hand when it's stuck out. Same with these screens. So yeah, there's just an orb. You're in an orb. 12 screens from the bottom to the top. You're rolling around like a marble, and of course you're nauseous. You're nauseous because as you roll around, you're going head over heels, constantly somersaulting, and then you're crashing up against another marble or another bumper car. It's perpetual vertigo. It's the nature of your life. It is the nature of your life. So there's something inside you that does not like this, but being so discombobulated all the time, being so overburdened with this information from the screens all the time, puts you in such a tizzied state that you've got to narcoticize. You got to drug yourself because you're either nauseous or agitated or confused or anxious. You can't ever just be clear. You can't ever just be serene because you're always rolling around, you're always head over heels, and there's all these information data points coming in from the screens. Of course you're going to be a drug addict. It could be video games, it could be alcohol, it could be cigarettes, it could be binge watching TV. Anything to put you out of the ache, to dislocate you from the gnawing inside that says, this ain't right. So there's two things. This ain't right, and maybe there's something else. Those are two different things. Because right when you say, maybe there's something else, boom, the 12 screens just got right into your back and became the dragonfly wings. And that's very important when the 12 screens become the dragonfly wings. Because guess what happens at that point? You're in an orb. You can see it. It's made of stone. And now you can't see through it because the screens were the ones that made you, allowed you to see through the stone orb. So what you lost is the illusion of all this freedom that gave you this impression. But the impression was wrong. The impression is that you are free when you're not. And you would know that if you didn't always narcoticize yourself, if you weren't an addict. But once you see that, feel that ache, and you say something else has got to be the case, screens collapse and go on your back. The dragonfly wings emerge, and there's a stone orb. You're inside it. The tomb from birth. The tomb that will take you to death. Now, how do you get out of that stone tomb? That solid orb? How do you get out? You got your wings now. You are a human dragonfly hybrid. All the scripts back here, like arrows in your quiver. Now you can use them. Maybe you use them to hunt. Maybe you use them to kill. Maybe you use them for self-defense. Maybe you use them just to show off. But you got to get out of the orb first. That is your problem. How does a dragonfly get out of the orb? Because there's two things. There's becoming the dragonfly, and then there's breaking free of the orb. What is the dragonfly afraid of? We have overcome the addiction. You've become the dragonfly. You feel the pain, and it blossomed you into being. And now that you're a dragonfly, now that you own all the scripts inside, and they're working for you so you can fly, how do you break out? And where do you go?